Do you want me to tell you about heaven?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel myself way up in the clouds, some indefinable spot away in space. And I'm looking around. The colours are beautiful. The blues and the whites are the only colours. I'm looking around. And there's nobody there. I asked myself, this is heaven. Where is God? Where is Jesus? Where are the disciples? Where are all the saints? And I turned round to the left and I looked to the left. And there was a Second World War field artillery piece with the wheels that height. Mm-hmm. And growing round it was ivy and lily, small lily of the flag. And you could see the contours of the cannon. And I looked at this thing in absolute amazement. And I says to myself, that has become a very beautiful object. And then I thought to myself, and the most beautiful thing about it is, it's never ever going to be used in violence. And then I thought to myself, the next thought was, well, if I'm in heaven, God has to be here. Bang! I could feel an explosion of light penetrating my body. No pain, just an explosion of light. And I looked at myself, and the light was pouring through my body, and ever increasing arcs. Couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I can't describe it. I just can't describe it. It was absolutely incredible, beyond my power or anybody else's power to describe accurately. It was an amazing phenomenon. These ever-increasing shafts of light going on. Then I thought to myself, whatever's causing this phenomenon is 180 degrees behind me. So I very slowly turned round, not daring to speculate on what I was going to see. Right? And when I turned round the 100, there's a disc of light that size. It was 1,000,000 times brighter than the sun. And I looked at this phenomenon and says, I should be struck blind immediately. But it had no adverse effect on me whatsoever. I just stood there in absolute amazement. I didn't know what to make of it. I was just totally amazed by the whole experience. And then the thought came into my mind from the Bible. I thought to myself, the Bible has got it right. It describes God as being light. And I made a hasty exit from heaven. Now, nobody ever is going to tell you a story like that.
No.
And it's absolutely true.
Was it a dream or what was it?
I put myself into a trance.
Did you?
It wasn't a dream.
Aye.
I never lost consciousness.
Why at that time did it happen, but?
Because I went out and bought the book. I've always been questioned. The big question of life is this. Here's the big question. And I've written on the subject extensively. What will happen to me? The most important question in life. Where and how will I spend the rest of eternity? That's the important question. Everything else comes secondary. When I die, what are my experiences going to be? Where and how will I spend eternity? Actually, I've written a book called Live the Beautiful Life, which is about this subject. So I've always been interested. I mean, I struggled from the age of 14 to 17. I was going to go to be a priest and would have gone had my education be better. I left school at 13 and a half and missed a whole lot of schooling. And boy, am I glad I didn't go. I would have left. I would have simply left. Because religion is a fraud. It is a fraud from beginning to end. And I've read, when I realised that I'd missed out on an education, I decided to compensate by reading the great thinkers throughout history. Now, listen. That there is a divine element in every human being if only they had the wisdom to search for it. That's the conclusion that I arrived at. And I have tread this spiritual path now for the past 40 years. There's still questions I ask. But it's wondrous the things you can learn. The greatest advice, and I've seen people only twit this, and I describe myself accurately as being a twit. Jesus made this statement, of myself. This is a man now that the Catholic churches would tell you is God. Of myself I can do nothing. It is not I but the Father. Now listen to the next word. Whoever remains within me. Whoever. Be you aware of the soles of your feet inside your shoes now. Right? Nothing to do with thought. Nothing to do with intelligence. It's consciousness. You're now conscious of the soles of your feet. Jesus was telling us that he could do the wonderful things that he did because he was continually conscious of the presence of God within him. The greatest spiritual betterment is consciousness. Without consciousness, the universe wouldn't exist. There would be a void. People don't realize that. They simply don't realize it. We all have to come back to earth until we live one life that is right. And the quality of the life that you enjoy in this life depends exclusively on the effort you put in previous life.
You think so?
Oh, I'm utterly convinced of it. Utterly, totally. I mean, I spent 40 years examining this. You know, William Shakespeare says, there's more in heaven and on earth than is thought of in your philosophy, Horatio. He's a great mystical thinker. Fate will bring in some boats that are not steered. This above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow then as night to day, that canst not then be false to any man. The boat that doesn't yield to the rudder will yield to the rocks. The greatest thinker America has ever produced is Ralph Waldo Emerson. Listen to him. If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always got. That's the law of life. There is a law about life. There is a law.